GBNews can exclusively reveal that the US State Department will be writing to the UK government imminently with their new policy position on the Chagos Islands surrender deal. That follows a major intervention, of course, from President Trump. Joining me in Washington now is the spokesperson for Friends of British Overseas Territories, Rob Midgley. Rob, you have been a busy boy the past couple of days. You've been at the State Department today, I understand. What's going on? Is this the beginning of the end of the Chagos surrender?
Well, I absolutely hope so, but it's important to remember why we're actually here this week, because the UK government haven't taken Trump's Truth Social post seriously enough to say, yes, that's diplomacy, yes, that's official policy.
Just remind us of the post.
So he posted about 2 weeks ago now, saying the Chagos Islands was an act of stupidity and the deal shouldn't be going through, but the UK hasn't taken that seriously enough. So what they have been taking seriously enough is Marco Rubio's post from May 2025. So they keep referring it back, and number 10 is definitely spinning right now, saying, well, he said that then.
What was the post from Rubio?
His post solidified the American agreement to the deal. So they obviously want to go back to that and say, well, he said that then, but we haven't had an official diplomatic channel message since then. So the main aim this week has to be finding out from the State Department what the official stance is now. So we finally had a meeting with the pen holders in the State Department who confirmed to me today that they will be imminently writing officially to the FCDO to confirm their new policy stance towards Chagos Islands, which will be following Donald Trump's stance from Truth Social. So I've got a few notes here that, if you don't mind, I'll just run through. So to start with, they didn't buy the British legal argument. So the British had been saying you have to hand over the Chagos Islands because it goes against the International Telecommunications Union. We can't run the electromagnetic field or whatever it was. And that also the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas, according to them, you have to give over sovereignty. So they said they've looked into all the legal stuff now, and it's complete rubbish. So because there are military exemptions, Article 48 and 298, which exempt the Chagos Islands from being held accountable by the UNCLOS.
So when the UK government, when Labour went to the US last year and said, we've got this Chagos situation, we've checked it all out, guys, we've done the hard work for you, the US just took them at their word, did they?
Yes, they didn't mention the military exemptions involved. So the US...
So they've been duped?
Yes, so the US are angry about this. There's a real palpable anger from the US side, from the DC side, from the senators, that the UK, the embassy, and specifically, they are very angry about the embassy have not told them about these military exemptions, and that is what we made clear today. And they have now turned around and said, okay, well, if you haven't taken the Truth Social post as our policy, we will now do it officially straight to the Foreign Office. So expect some sort of dialogue in the next week, I would say, about their new stance.
That's bombshell. So the US government is going to be writing to the UK government saying, we were duped, we don't like this deal, there's a lack of security. And is this the beginning of the end then, surely? Because David Lammy and Starmer have always said, if the Americans aren't on board, we won't do it.
So there's two more points, if I've got time.
Yes.
So the UK is actually trying to change the 1966 agreement. The US have said they're trying to change it, which states the US recognises UK sovereignty. So I have told them specifically they cannot change that 1966 agreement, because that means they remove their own veto from the deal. So that's really critical. Secondly, they are keeping razor eyes on who is on the pitch in UK politics at the moment. They recognise Nigel Farage is in the stalls at the moment. So they want to see what will happen in 2 years' time. So expect this to either be killed or paused indefinitely, so they can wait for Nigel Farage to go in and kill this officially. And also, on the back of that, we made them aware about all the security concerns, the nuclear stances that Mauritius has come out to say no nuclear weapons will be allowed on the Chagos Islands, which has absolutely horrified them at these prospects. And also the fact that Chinese inspectors may be allowed to go onto the Chagos Islands to check for those weapons according to the Pender-Lindbergh agreement, which is just absolutely bonkers. And I made this really clear to senators, and specifically Senator Kennedy, who is leading the charge in the Senate for further scrutiny on this. So expect a double attack, one from the State Department and one from the Senate in the next week or so.
That's incredible. So, I mean, for me, this is the biggest Chagos story in the past, I'd say, year or so, but I want to know who particularly duped the Americans? Was it just diplomats? Was David Lammy, who was the Foreign Secretary at the time? Was it? It was Lammy at the time.
So obviously the embassy take orders from the Foreign Office. So the Foreign Office, the embassy here, had been schmoozing the officials here without putting anything down in writing. It's all been over the promise, the word, and they've completely fallen for it. They've fallen for that British schmooze. So they feel really angry and duped by this whole thing now. They feel betrayed about it.
Yeah, Nigel Farage said something similar a few days ago. He said that the Americans have been duped. Again, this just backs that up. Rob, incredible work. Lots of our viewers writing in on gbnews.com/your say now, saying, great stuff. This has to be the end of the Chagos giveaway. I knew Starmer had spun it to the USA. He's the most dishonest PM ever. I guess it's not Starmer personally, but look, he's the boss. He's the CEO.
I mean, Trump can do this very well now. He can package this up and say, this is a Biden deal, and I'm putting an end to it. And that will be the end of it now.
Wow, bombshell. Rob, thank you so much. So that letter is going to be arriving sometime next week, you think, with the US State Department writing to the Foreign Office in the UK saying, guys, we don't like this deal whatsoever. This will be the end of it. Rob, thank you very much. That's Rob Midgley from Friends of British Overseas Territories. Stay with us. We'll catch up soon, Rob.
We're living in a time of what feels like pretty significant social change, and it makes us question things that we've even taken for granted for decades. And one of those at the moment that people are wondering about is actually money. Is the money in your bank account safe? Should you be investing elsewhere? Are we looking at a potential global crash? What will it mean for your savings? Is there a way that you could be using your money that might be outside of government control even? Well, TallyMoney is potentially one solution. So I'm delighted to say that I'm joined today by the CEO and founder of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. What is TallyMoney?
Well, at TallyMoney, you basically get gold you can spend. So we give people an individual account in their name, everyday account. They get a sort code, an account number. They use that account just like they would pounds from their bank, but it's milligrams of gold that we brand as Tally.
Okay. Why would you do that, though? What is the benefit to the customer instead of just having a normal pound sterling account?
Gold's performance against the pound is above 11% per annum over the last 25 years on average. But we still need money in our daily lives, and we have savings. We know that it's good common sense and prudent to save up for things, not just live in credit. Whether it's a holiday or a rainy day, your retirement planning, you need to have money in your life, basically, that you can rely on, that's dependable, that nobody meddles with, that nobody can weaponise against you, which is another element of government control when it's the government currency, which we could talk about another time. And it should be pretty simple and straightforward, and that's what we deliver at Tally. And really, we just want people to feel safe and happy with their money. There was a time when the bigger your bank balance, the more confident you felt. Now it's like, I need to do something with it. I can't leave it there. In Tally, you can.
Okay, brilliant. Cameron Parry from TallyMoney, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bev.
Here, Angelina's here. And guys, this could be the start of the end of Chagos. It could be ripped up, consigned to the dustbin of history, the treacherous surrender indirectly to the Chinese. Stuff it. Christo, what's your thoughts?
I think this needs to happen. I mean, I think that this has been so glaringly obvious that no one wanted this who had any kind of common sense. Why would we hand over sovereignty over something that is so strategically important for the defence of ourselves and our allies to Mauritius, who would be under pressure from China and Russia? I thought that the letter, actually, a couple of weeks ago as well, from I've just been rereading it, actually, from the exiled minister, Ms. Lee Mandarin, who wrote to Donald Trump, outlining this in the most impassioned way, saying, look, unfortunately, Mauritius can't be trusted, but also Mauritius are part of an anti-nuclear deal within Africa, which would mean that if, even with the lease terms that we have, if the naval base there, the Diego Garcia base, would need to be used for any kind of strategic nuclear threat, well, that would mean it would be impotent in such an instance. why on earth are we doing this? And so I really, really hope that your exclusive pans out and that actually this is binned because it's nonsense.
It is absolute nonsense, and we were paying for it. The British taxpayer was actually going to pay for them to do this.
I know, and Trump didn't even know that.
That was the most ridiculous point. President Trump had no clue about that, I'm absolutely certain.
Angelina, did you know we're paying for it? We're paying 30 billion.
I just read that, actually, and that's absolutely insane. It really is.
And to pay to give something back to the Chinese.
Yeah, that's insane. And look, even during Keir Starmer's visit, the Chinese state media I saw that they read that they were using different pronouns, I guess, for Keir Starmer, one that lowers his status compared to Xi. So it's not like China's out there respecting the United States or the UK and their power and their leadership. And I think it's definitely something that we should, definitely keep an eye on and have a military base continue to operate there.
Just to say, it's going to Mauritius, but it's not going back to Mauritius because Mauritius never had it. Right. Mauritius never owned the islands in the first place. It's a complete scam. The whole thing's a scam. I don't know what's going on. It stinks like kippers at breakfast. The Mauritius Prime Minister was nicked about 2 years ago with loads of British visas, blank visas, loads of cash. I think he's been convicted now. Keir Starmer's best friend, Philippe Sands KC, who's a lawyer buddy of Starmer, he was representing, and still is representing Mauritius in this long battle for Chagos. It's just completely bizarre. As I said, completely stinks. Sorry, Hilary, go on.
No, I was actually going to say to actually hand it back into the Chinese sphere, the British taxpayer not only paying for it, but the Chagosians, they didn't even want it. So the thing is who is it actually pleasing? I don't think President Trump was aware of all of this, let alone obviously the absolute military significance, let alone the fact that the US does have a base there. I think that's the big issue. I don't think that he was really aware or the administration wasn't paying close enough attention to it.
And Christo, I've said before as well, what a massive hypocrite Keir Starmer is. Greenland is for the Greenlanders. The future of Greenland should be down to the Greenlanders. All right, mate, well, the Chagosians were kicked out in the 70s, and you've sold them down the river without even so much as consulting them.
Absolutely, because of course every single time that Keir Starmer attempts to take a position on anything, something comes back to bite him on the backside, because of course then we are reminded of the fact that he has no ideology and doesn't believe in anything. But I can't help but laugh, because I remember a couple of weeks ago the way you described, Ben, this coming about, which was Philip Sands and Keir Starmer in a wine bar in Islington with their expensive red wine, thinking of ways in which they could uphold international law, and that's how this deal ended up coming about. And I think you were probably spot on. Unfortunately, that wine bar is probably closed now due to the tax hikes, but it was probably there at the time.
Yeah, what a joke. And do you know what President Trump says about international law? He says, we are the law. We are the law. Stuff it. We're not listening to the international law. Imagine listening to the ICJ. It's just a joke. It's just a joke. The whole thing stinks, as I said, and hopefully with this intervention now from the US government, this is the beginning of the end of Chagos, and hopefully, some would argue, the beginning of the end of Starmer and Labour. I think this Chagos defeat would be one defeat too many.